Look at the top right corner. 1.5 times. That is Google's own label on Google's own launch film posted this morning. That robot you just watched calmly tidying a shelf. You were watching it 50% faster than it actually moved. And people still said it was too slow. Google put out 7 videos today. The graceful ones are marked 1.5. The fiddly close-up handwork is marked 1 times, real speed. And that footage is stamped like this. Because underneath all of it, on the very same page, Google published the success rate for every single task in those films. Their best robot hand screws a light bulb into a socket 36% of the time. All this and more coming up. Quick word first. Videos that question a major launch on the day of that launch don't get pushed very hard, for reasons you can probably guess. So if this is useful, a like or a comment genuinely moves it in front of more people, and it costs you nothing. Anyway, back to it. So, what actually shipped? Gemini Robotics 2 is 3 models, not 1. The first turns an instruction into movement across an entire humanoid body. Google's phrase is from feet to fingertips, and that's the new part, because previous versions were mostly arms bolted to a bench. The second plans multi-step jobs and coordinates several robots at once, running tasks that last minutes across hundreds of decisions. The third runs on the robot itself with no cloud connection and adapts to a completely new robot body with a few hours of data and under 200 examples. The partners are not small names. Aptronic's Apollo 2, Franka, Agile Robots, and Boston Dynamics. Hold on to that one. Now the numbers. On the Apollo 2 humanoid with 5-fingered hands, unscrewing a light bulb, 92%. Genuinely excellent. Screwing that same bulb back in, 36%. Tying a trash bag, 44. Sealing a Ziploc, 40. Using a dustpan, 32. So on 4 of those 5, the most advanced robot brain on Earth, on a humanoid that costs more than a house, fails more often than it succeeds. And nobody dug these up or leaked them. Google published them voluntarily on the same page as the highlight reel. And to be fair to them, the team knows this is the question. One of the researchers who actually built it posted a couple of hours after launch, and the line was, "These videos are cool, but do these tasks actually work?" He was promising more demos, but it is the right question, and Google had already answered it themselves in a table further down the page. However, there's a second table underneath the first, and that one changes the whole story. It isn't a humanoid at all. It's a Franka arm, a fixed industrial robot bolted to a bench with a crude 2-finger gripper. Same brain, same software, different body. Precise insertion, 89.6%. Toolkitting, 78.9. General pick and place, 74.2. Put those side by side. The 5-fingered humanoid hand puts a bulb in a socket 36% of the time. The 2-finger industrial claw does precise insertion at nearly 90. And those are different tasks on different hardware, and I want to be straight about that. But the model is identical, and the pattern is not the one the launch film is selling you. The intelligence isn't the bottleneck anymore. The hand is. Look at which tasks survive and which collapse. Unscrewing, 92. Screwing in, 36. Off a shelf, 76. Off the floor, 45. Every task that needs the machine to line something up precisely or hold a steady controlled force while it moves lands in the 30s and 40s. Everything that just needs it to grab and go lands in the 70s and 90s. That's not a thinking problem. A robot that can plan a 5-minute job across hundreds of decisions isn't failing because it doesn't know what a dustpan is. It's failing because it can't feel. Threading a bulb into a socket means sensing the thread catch and correcting before it cross-threads. A loop that runs in your fingertips long before it reaches your brain. Take that away, and no amount of reasoning saves you. And that is exactly why the speed labels split the way they do. The 1.5 times footage is walking, crouching, reaching, carrying. The big movements, the ones that already work. The real-time footage is fingers. Google sped up the part it has solved and left the part it hasn't running at full length. To be fair, they say it themselves. Buried in the same post is an admission that the robots have more to advance in movement speed, and that multi-finger dexterous manipulation, their words, remains challenging. Both things are true. It's just that 90 seconds of a humanoid gracefully tidying a room travels across the internet, and a 32% dustpan figure does not. Which brings us back to Boston Dynamics. Google bought Boston Dynamics in 2013. It sold the company in 2017, having decided legged robots were an expensive distraction. Boston Dynamics went to SoftBank, then Hyundai, and spent the next decade becoming the most recognizable robotics company on the planet. And today, Boston Dynamics is on the partner list for Google's robot brain. So Google sold the body, kept building the mind, and has come back to rent the body. Whether that's a masterstroke or a very expensive round trip is honestly still open. And one last thing before anyone gets carried away. You can't use any of it. The main model and the on-device model are restricted to early access partners. The reasoning model sits behind a studio and a private preview. Everything else is a trusted tester program you apply to and then wait. So when the headlines tell you, Google just gave robots a brain, what actually happened is Google gave a brain to a short list of companies it already works with, published the honest failure rates underneath the film, and marked which shots were sped up in a corner nobody looked at. So what do you watch from here? That 36%. Google will publish these tables again on the next version, and the gap between the humanoid hand and the industrial gripper is the only number that tells you whether robots are genuinely closing in on doing your laundry, or getting extraordinarily good at everything except the last 6 inches. Right now the brain is ready, the hands are not, and the hands are the entire job. So what do you think? Breakthrough or a very expensive demonstration? Let us know down in the comments. If you got something out of this, drop a like and consider subscribing so you don't miss the next one. See you in the next video.